Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Soulcation Podcast. I have the beautiful Jasmine Gibson with us today. She's a brand coach, a digital marketing strategist. She's helped brands increase awareness, boost profit, build community, and recruit leads. She's the owner of the strategic consulting firm, Miyoko Strategies, a company that works to empower Black women who are industry experts with their brand and digital presence. Welcome to the Soulcation Podcast, Jasmine.
Yes. Hey guys. This is exciting.
I know. So she's on the East Coast and I'm on the West Coast. So thank you, technology, for bringing us together.
Yeah, no, seriously. I was thinking that when we mentioned it before the show, like, wow, technology has really done some things for us. I'm so blessed to be connected to you.
Of course. I feel like this is going to be a long-term girlship.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You can't beat me even if you tried. It's over after this. We are sisters.
Yeah. With the same mission.
No, seriously. Yeah. With the same mission, the same goals. I mean, clearly we're just here to be connected for a reason. So I'm just grateful that we even got a chance to connect because I know how schedules get and everything. So truly a blessing to just be beside you, girl.
Thank you. So let's take the audience to Jasmine before being a branding coach. Like, who were you in high school? Where did you see yourself going? What was the dream that you had? Was it a dentist, an attorney? What was the dream before being a brand coach?
Girl. So I was watching Law and Order through and through. I was in all the CSI episodes. I was living my life through those. And in high school, I really thought I was going to be an attorney. I was like, yeah, I'm going to be a lawyer. I'm going to go to law school. I'm going to do the daggone thing. But I was also going really fast nowhere. So I was just like struggling to like be seen, be heard. I've always felt like I'm just different. I don't know what that looks like or what that really means. Like all the time, my teachers would always say like, you have potential. Even back in the day, you know, I had someone now, like maybe a year ago, she was telling me, she was like, you have the it factor. She's like, now that I'm older and, you know, like I've fully stepped into like being mature and being in my space and just, you know, owning my truths and who I am, etc. We both were talking and she's, you know, a little older than me. She's like, you have it too. I'm like, what are you talking about? She's like, you have the it factor. Where people always say like you'll be successful, but like how do you monetize that? Like how do you I'm going to be successful in what? I'm going to be successful doing. I'm going to be successful where, how, like, you know, it's really hard when you have like potential or where you have the it factor. I don't even know what those mean, but like, you know, like people have always just said it to me though. Like I see your potential. I see like, and even people, they will always say like, you'll be good. Like, what? Like here, I'm struggling. I'm doing this. I'm in all this debt, you know, building this business. And people still always say, like, you'll be fine. Like, you will be fine. Like, to other people, they are like, get a job, do this, do that. But, like, to me, they're always like, you will be fine. It's always an emphasis on, like, the you part. I have no idea what that means. I don't know how to own that part. I just know that that's what people say. And I'm just like, okay, well, if you're going to encourage me in that fashion, then I'm going to be fine. Like, I don't know how. I just tap into my faith, you know, my religion and say like, okay, somewhere I will be fine. I don't know. It doesn't look that way right now. Some days it looks very gruesome. Some days it's like I'm quitting. Everybody, old girl coming back. I'm just cursing everything. I'm like, you know, this is it. I'm done. And then I come back to reality. I'm like, okay, yeah, that was a challenge. That was a test and etc. And then someone else mentioned something that has really stuck with me lately is like, how are you waiting in your waiting season? Pastor Todd, Mike Todd. Yeah. So I love me some Mike Todd. so Pastor Todd said, you know, like, he's like, your wait season, like, how are you waiting for your next blessing? Like, how are you waiting? And so in that space, I've just been very cautious now of how I am waiting. Like, I'm waiting for the next paycheck from a client, waiting for an invoice that still hasn't been paid after 30 days. Like, you know, how are you waiting in this period of time? And how are you waiting for your next opportunity? I think knowing that I have what people have deemed like the potential, saying that to myself now is just like, okay, if you do have the it factor, if you do have potential, if you do have this is just a trial. This is just like some turbulence on your road. how are you going to choose to wait in that? And so sometimes I wait by just being still. Sometimes I wait by, you know, calling other people, checking in. Sometimes I wait by just hanging out with my family and friends instead of like, you know, being solely into the business. When I was in high school, like you know, even when you started, it's like, what were you in high school? A high achiever. I am very achievements based. All throughout college, everything, my worth was tied, and it still is, unfortunately, tied to my accomplishments. If I don't accomplish, am I worth anything? You know, so just having that real in-depth conversation with yourself, I'm learning now to unlearn that behavior. Like, I can abandon all of my duties for today and still be a good person and still, you know, be worthy of support, worthy of confidence, worthy of just kindness. You know, I can do those things.
I love that. You can unlearn behavior. Because I think,
Girl.
I think the hardest thing was yesterday somebody called me and was like, how are you really doing? Not how you doing, but how you really doing.
Oh, I wish I had those people.
We'll be there for each other. How about that?
Okay.
And I was like, there are moments I'm sad, you know, and I'm like, I don't want to be sad. What is this? Where is this coming from? You know, but you have to go through those emotions or they'll keep showing up in other ways. So I like that you said you have to unlearn certain behaviors. And one of my behaviors is suppressing it, pushing it down.
Oh, yeah, I do that sometimes too. I'm just learning to not do that. Do you listen to Patrice Washington's podcast?
Girl, met her 3 weeks ago in Vegas. Girl, when I say,
I mean, I would freak out if I met Patrice.
When I was trying to like not freak out, but I'm cool, but I'm happy to meet you, but I'm grateful, but what? Like, I had so many different emotions, girl. It was crazy. Yes, I do, to answer your question. Go ahead.
You would have been like, don't touch me. I'd be like,
okay. Yeah, met her husband, met her sister-in-law, girl. I couldn't handle it. I was like,
yeah, no, I can't even handle the conversation about it. So I know I couldn't handle it. So there was an episode maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago that talks about behavior, like not behaviors, but feelings. I think her name's Christine. She might have been a guest, Christine. She talked about feelings and she said like she teaches, I'm not sure what her role actually is, but I can't remember, but she teaches people how to feel and be okay in feeling. And that podcast, let me tell you something, Redefining Wealth sets me free. Each and every week I get set free in some element, whether it's to feel, whether it's like, you know, just like to be who I am, whether it's to get my coins in alignment with my vision, my $1 million goals, you know, like if it's to work a little bit harder, like even the episode last week, she talked about, what was it? What was the one last week? Oh God. It was with this woman of
oh my God. Bayou. Lisa Bayou? Billion?
Yes. What does she do? Women of Impact. That's it. Yes. So she talked about like, how bad do you want it? I started to think about it in my head. I was like, yeah, like I sacrificed a lot in this business, like a lot to build this business. So if you talk about how bad do you want it, it's like, some days I might not show up as my best self, but how bad do I want it? All of these decisions to like showcase. But now I was like, after that episode, I actually started jotting down like, what am I willing to give up? I am not willing to give up like family and friend time no more. I'm not willing to sacrifice happy hours. If the business work isn't done by happy hour, I'm going to happy hour by any means, because that social element, that social impact is really, really important. That is actually how you feel like you belong in society. I think if we look at just like my idol, my bae, Beyonce had that period where she had to take a whole year off because she had been so achievement and accomplished focused that she was just working and on to the next thing and on to the next thing. And that's how I am. On to the next thing, on to the next thing. Like one project does well, great. Moving on. And so the next thing, I'm on this podcast this week. Great. Now which one am I on tomorrow? You know, like I've done 2 podcast interviews this week. And then I got 3 opportunities to speak this week. And I'm like, okay, that's great. More. Like, you know, like, and then you have to just really take a moment to just be like, sit still, appreciate that, like appreciate the fact that you are seen in that way, that you can influence and impact people. Like appreciate that beauty and Redefining Wealth be setting me free in that manner, because it does. Like, it does remind you, a lot of the guests that are on there remind you to just be who you are, own your crap, and then to step up and be better.
Yeah, I agree. I love it.
Seriously, I cannot believe you got to see her in Vegas.
Girl.
Oh,
I can't. So for entrepreneurs who are wanting to build a brand, because you are the branding coach, what does the start of that process look like? Do they sit down and say, I'm good at, quilting, I'm good at, Facebook ads, maybe I should start a brand around that? What is that process where they come to an answer of what they do first, and then they start creating the brand?
Yeah, so this is a tricky part, because I don't think like other gurus and strategists. So I don't believe that you should go straight into building a brand. I think you need to go straight in and building a foundation of something that can be sustainable and scalable. And it just needs to have impact, and it needs to have an end goal. So when I started Miyoko Strategies, originally when I left my job, I was going back into the field that I was in. So I was going back to being a marketer, being a communication strategist for political leaders and elected officials. Like, that is where I knew, that was all I knew, especially with advocacy campaigns. Like, I wanted to get back into the advocacy field. And then something kept tugging at me, like, that's not it anymore. And I didn't know what it was. It was probably because there's just a lot of stress on the body, especially with the current political climate. Like, I don't want to be there no more. I don't want to be tied to it. I don't want to know it. I don't, just forget government. So, for me, it was a different and challenging time. But I look at that and I say, like, how do you start at the base level? And what that looks like is you need to check in with yourself. What are things that you're good at? What are things that you like to do? Somewhere in between the things that you're good at and the people you're trying to help is going to be your purpose. Somewhere in between there is your purpose. So if you don't know what you're good at, if you don't know things that you like, if you don't know yourself, how are you going to stand up and advocate for other people? Like, you can't do that, because you don't have anything. You don't know yourself. You don't know anything. And so other brand strategists will try to get to the heart of that, and they'll say, like, let's build this brand. But I really think it starts before you can even build the brand. I think you need to check in with you. And then once you check in with you, you'll know the things that you want your brand to relay. So my brand is all about Blackness. Of course, that Black girl magic, the fro is humongous. Is people attached to that quicker than they even attach to just my personality. So, it's the authenticity. I just speak my truth. I don't sugarcoat shit. Like, it is what it is. And so if you're building a brand and you really want that know-how, it really starts with you. Check in with the things you're good at. What are things that you like? Who do you like? Who do you even want to work with? Who do you want to make an impact for? Because we can't, as much as I want to say that we can, and I even strive to do this, we can't help everyone. So who is it that you want to help? And then from there, I have a system that I use, like with my clients. It's called KMC. So I'm a huge acronym person. KMC, know your audience, meet them where they are, and captivate them. Once you get that bottom half, that checking in with yourself in, everything else will be easy. And so once you get to know who you are, you then go to your audience and the people that you want to impact, the people that you want to help. Know them. Like, don't just like, oh, I think that Black women don't want to work with each other. I'm actually, one of my clients, they've done a study on this, and research finds that out of everything that a Black woman says that is a challenge in her business, working with other Black women has yet to come up. So that's something that someone is pushing on you. That's not a reality. So if you're a Black woman and you say to yourself, and this is not to, with my podcast, we always say we don't judge, but this is, if you are a Black woman and you subscribe to that and you say, well, I want to work with other Black women, but Black women don't like to work with other Black women. What do you mean? Like, show me a statistic, show me a finding, explain that, because I need to know that, because that's my target audience. And if you're telling me something about my audience, we need to make sure that it's true, because that is how you build your marketing campaigns. That's how you build your brand. You build all of that stuff based on who you are, what you want the brand to represent, and who your audience is. If your audience isn't going to attach to your brand, I don't know a business that has, an audience that doesn't attach their brand in a way that still produces income. It doesn't work that way. Right. So if your audience doesn't attach to your brand, you don't have a business, because you don't have revenue. And that's how we look at business. Business is revenue. Those numbers are real. Research really shows that's a thing. So when other brand strategists start straight into the branding stuff, yeah, I do make sure that my clients have brand pillars, brand messaging, brand stories. I make sure they have all of that stuff. But the reality is that if they don't check in with who they are, if they don't know who they are and who they want to impact and, all of that good stuff, it doesn't matter what the brand is, because no one is going to attach to the brand anyway.
Yeah. That's so true. So let's say they've checked in with themselves. They know who they are. They know who they're going for. They are at peace, with their messaging. Okay. What's the next step? Is it content creation? What is it? Okay.
Then it's audience, it's target audience research, market research. So you go straight into your audience, and then that's that that's that KMC, right? So the K is to know your audience through and through. Really get into the deep stuff with them. Where are they shopping? Are they online? If they are online, how long are they online shopping? Where are they purchasing? If you're online boutique, that stuff matters. If you're an organization that's going to have like a women's entrepreneurial conference or something like that, what type of conferences do they go to? At what price point have they been purchasing conferences? What speakers are usually at these conferences? Know everything about your audience and the things that they like, the things that they trust, because that's going to be how they attach to you. A lot of times people like to say, I'm doing it different. The problem with doing it different is that a lot of times when we do it differently, it can be tweaked, yes. But when you do it differently, someone is not interested in that. It's a reason that other people are successful with the way that they're doing it. It's because it shows a return on its investment. You don't have to be different to do it. You just have to do it with value and impact and for your audience. Yeah. It's possible that you can have a women's empowerment conference. And I know people don't like to talk about the women's empowerment conferences and stuff like that, but you can have a women's empowerment conference that's actually empowering, that's action-packed, that's, full of value, and people will go to a women's empowerment conference because it's impactful. It has value. So know your audience, know the people that you want to invite places, know the people that you need to be connected to, and get connected to them too. Don't just have yourself at a pedestal. I get down and dirty with the people that I want to work with, because I want to see where they're hanging out. I want to see where they are or what they do on the weekends, etc. Because that's where I need to be. And even when I don't think I'm working on the weekends, if I know that they're all at happy hours or these exclusive bars, that's where I want to be. So here in Baltimore, I used to hang out in Harbor East because that's one of our most expensive areas. So I'm looking for the people that are in that area because those are my clients. And I want to see what they're doing when they're there. How much money are they really spending? So I can know if they really are visiting that area, or if they frequent that area. Know your audience, stalk them. However you need to get the information about them, get the information about them. I mean, everything I do is research-based. That is the real first step. Know your audience through and through. Where do they live? How much money do they bring in a year? Everything that you can think of that you want to know. Do they always wear their hair long? Do they wear their hair straight? Do they have natural hair products? And you might think these things are why would I want to know all of that if I'm just selling candles? Because if you're selling candles, right, and your audience all has natural hair, imagine what type of sponsors you could bring in. So if you decide to have an event and you're I'm having this candle expo, I don't know, candle making class, etc., you can now reach out to all of the natural hair care products and say, hey, I have your audience here. I have like 98% of the women in the room all have natural hair. Would you be interested in sponsoring our event? Would you be willing to give us an in-kind donation? All of this is because you know your audience. It doesn't matter what product or what service you're selling. Just know the person that you're selling to.
Right. Good stuff. Good stuff. I hope y'all are listening. So clearly the market research is important. What's next?
Yep. So then after market research, that's when I like to get into the brand building.
Okay.
Because then you can start looking, once you have that ideal client kind of portfolio put together, then you can do like your brand messaging, you can do your brand pillars, and pillars are the things that your brand actually stands on. So when people come to your Instagram page or when people come to your website, what are the 3 feelings? What are the 3 emotions that come right away? What is something that they should always feel when they get to your page, even if you're not intentionally doing it? So like, let's say you're not just saying, for us, Black Girl Magic. We don't always say Black Girl Magic, but every time you get to the page, we never have an image of a Black woman down or sad, etc., because it's supposed to give you that joy, that uplifting feel. And that's what it looks like to start their brand. You have the brand pillars, you have the brand story, and the brand story is one of the most powerful elements of the brand. And I personally think that it should go last. Like, it goes after you do the pillars, the mission. It goes after you look at the target audience and do their research. Then you say, like, what's a story that is my truth, but that attaches to my audience? Because if you create the brand story, but it's not for your audience, well, now you're just bragging about yourself, right? Now you're just bragging about yourself. Now you're just spilling all of your secrets for no reason. You're telling people how you were poor and how you used to be a stripper. I don't know the story, but like, you're telling people how you came from the struggle to the shine, but no one even cared about that. Like, your audience doesn't care about that story because they are in an uplifting spirit. So they don't want to see the overcoming. They want to see how you've been able to tackle your new challenges, not necessarily your older ones.
Yeah.
So if you go through the brand that way and do all of that stuff, those are all the elements. I think the stages really go, you definitely know your audience first, then you start building the brand. After you build the brand, you start thinking of your avenues. So your avenues are the M, so that KMC. The M is where you meet your audience. So often I'll have clients that are on Twitter and they're like, yeah, no one likes my stuff on Twitter. No one's retweeting me. And I say, is your audience on Twitter? Not really. Well, why are you on Twitter? Meet your audience where they are. If Twitter is going to be used for awareness, then that's a different story. Then you can still be there, but you're just there for awareness. So you shouldn't expect engagement, right? Lower our expectations to a realistic space. You don't have to expect that stuff. That's what I look at. That's what I say. It's like, okay, so once you're meeting them where they are you meeting them at coffee shops? Are you meeting them like me? Were you meeting them at Harbor East? Where can you meet these people? And not just like meet to connect and shake hands, etc., or to encourage. Meet them where they are so that your content actually reaches them. Before you can even like begin content creation, know them and then meet them where they are. If they're on Instagram, you're on Instagram. If they're on Facebook, you're on Facebook. If they're not on Facebook, but they're in Facebook groups, you're inside of Facebook groups. You have to find the people, and they're not just going to find you, because that's a lot of money that you need to spend for someone to find you. You need to find them, and then make sure as soon as you get there, that KMC, the C, is to captivate them. So once you get connected with them and you meet them where they are and they're interested in you and they've, are learning to know, like, and trust you, captivate them. Give them content that actually compels them. Give them content that is going to change their life in some type of way, whether it's knowledge-based, whether it's statistics, whether it's a fact, whatever it is, give them content that they actually care about. And you're not going to be able to create content that they care about unless you know them. So it's really that KMC method is like what I live by. It's like know them, meet them, and captivate them.
That's good, Jasmine. That's good. I hope y'all are catching all of these nuggets.
Yes.
You are very versatile in the things that you've done. I mean, having events for the White House. Can you explain, like, let's say they have the brand, they have the content, they have the market research, they are actually meeting, greeting, talking to the audience, they're captivating them. And they're like, okay, now I want to put on an event. How do I do that? What is the first 3 steps?
So putting on an event, man, sponsors. So sponsors make it all possible. I swear to you not. A lot of the meet part is like you're meeting your audience where they are, but then you start to see like the things that they appreciate and the things that they value. And then you eventually you'll start getting connected to the people that you're serving. So the people that I was like influencing and impacting, etc., I just got connected to all the right people because aside from me meeting people like online and in digital spaces, I was also meeting people in person. I was taking advantage of networking opportunities. And don't get me wrong, it is definitely stressful. So at one point, me and a colleague were doing 4 a week. So it was real. We were doing 4 networking events a week. It was like treacherous, especially because naturally I'm just introverted. I just have to talk because that's my business, like I have to do what I have to do. And so just like meeting people every single day. Every person is a valuable person to you until they prove themselves otherwise. So I go out here and I'm just talking to people. Like I'll be honest, like full transparency. I'll talk to people and I'm really like, I just do not have the energy to hold this conversation. Do I give them respect? If they ask me like, hey, can we follow up? Surely can. I know in my heart that like I probably won't have the energy to hold another conversation with them. But I'll be like, okay, sure, we can. If they reach out and they want to grab coffee, I make it a thing to get coffee with them. I continue those relationships even if I don't want to. And there are gurus out here that will say, don't do things that you don't want to do. But when you're in the beginning of building a business, every person is of value to you because nothing else is more important in your first 3 years than connections, because they sustain your business in the first 3 years.
Yeah.
I've had every opportunity that I've had, even in my career, has been because someone else brought me with them. It has never been that actually, like, honestly, I'll be honest. I have never gotten a job on my own. Every job has always been someone saying, and I've worked in you've seen the bio, the resume, like I've been in some really, really great situations. So for me, it's like, I can't put a price tag on it. And I've been blessed because it's always been Black women that have made that way for me. Like my first job out of college, one of my mentors, she was like, hey, there's this job in DC, and that's how I got started. She was like, there's this job in DC, and they had this price tag that just ain't working with what she was working for. And she was like, but I know you fresh out of school, so this would be excellent for you. I'm going to try and make sure that they keep this number where it is because they're giving it to me, but I want them to give that to you, and you would be fine, out of college. And so I was like, okay, I'll go, I'll see, etc. I went for the interview. The interviewer asked me maybe 2 questions. I lied to you not. Maybe 3 if she was just like, how are you? So she asked me those questions. The next day I got the offer letter. Literally the next morning I got the offer letter, which was like more money than any of my friends were making. Like, when they're like, do y'all make this combined? Like, no, I make this by myself. Like, like it was one of those. And I'm like, all of those opportunities have been from the people that I was connected to. So even doing like the events at the White House. So that was because I was in advocacy. So I was with a bunch of political leaders and everyone knew my background because they would always call me Olivia Pope. And I like it. I love being Olivia. But they used to always say like, that's Olivia Pope. She handles her business. She does politics. And I was young too, like fresh out, like I'm still young. So it's really young. So doing that work, it was like fun for me. I like politics. I like advocacy. I like the fury, passion. Like, I like to be behind the scenes, putting everything together. And then when I joined the nonprofit team, because one of the people that were on the advisory board was like, hey, they have an opening. I just pitched you to them. You can be a contractor for them for a few months. Okay, sure thing. Why not? See what it's about. And I was just eager to try things. So I did that. The first thing that they told me to do, I had left college. I was graduating May 23rd. I probably started at the organization like May 15th, May 16th. They gave me 5 months. 5 months. Nope. That's another part. That was the elevation awards. The White House was 1 month. They gave me 1 month to plan the event at the White House. They had a contact that was like wishy-washy. They didn't really have anything in place. They were like, make it happen. We heard you have, like, you can make it happen. That's what I'm talking about, that it factor. What you mean I can make it? I don't have no contacts at the White House. Why would you think that I could make it happen? But I made it happen though.
Yeah.
So literally, if you've ever done anything at the White House, it takes 3 weeks to get people like through. Like, it gets 3 weeks to get you approved so that you can go through Secret Service. Like, they need to check you out well in advance. So there goes 2 weeks of me like having to solidify, like, you know, an entire attendee list, because in the next 3 weeks it was going to be them checking. I got onto LinkedIn. I found literally every intern that worked at the White House and just started messaging them. Hey, do you think your boss would like to pick up this? Hey, do you think your boss would like to pick up this project? Do you think they would like to work on this? Because it was a Baltimore-based project. And then I just changed the whole theme. Baltimore was in a crappy situation. It was literally right after Freddie Gray. So it was like, let's start talking about these tough topics. Let's have these conversations at the table. And in a sense, that's where the passion comes with, like, me wanting to help Black women. So Miyoko Strategies, like, we only work with Black women. But that comes from the place of, like, me advocating and being on the front lines, and me seeing the behind the scenes and the front lines of, like, what happens in these rooms when we're not there, and what happens when we have to make it happen for ourselves. Tyler Perry just talked about that in the BET Awards. Own your stuff. And he made a way for Black women. Well, when I did that event, I made a way for Black people to even appear into the White House. How many of us really work in the White House?
Yeah.
Like, how many of us have ever been inside of the White House? And I had done that at 21? You know, like, that is even just like the chills in my body right now. Is like a reminder that I don't necessarily appreciate that moment the way that I should until I have to talk about what it means for other Black people and Black women specifically. Like, there was an opportunity there that I put Baltimore on the map by having this event. And it was all because one Black woman said, hey, there's a project on the table that I know that you could do. I just pitched you to them. You're going to do this. Come on. Right? Like, I've just been very, very blessed and highly favored in everything that I've ever done. So God's really good, but truly it's about, Tyler Perry said it, and when he said it, I literally started crying, because that's my whole life has been, helping other people cross behind the scenes. You don't have to know that I did it. You don't have to know that it was my work, but like, Baltimore and like Black culture itself didn't start seeing daylight in that White House until our event. And like, they probably won't see it for another few years with like the current administration, but like, that was a stride in the right steps. That was a stride in the right direction that got people talking about Baltimore in a different light, that got resources and people interested in Baltimore. And that's my home, right? Like, that's my home. I always want things to go well with Baltimore. So it really, I mean, like, while I don't appreciate it the way I should, it's definitely one of the most important and pivotal marks in my career, because then when I started to check back in and say, like, so why do you want to like build this business? What do you want this business to do? It's like, I'm with Tyler Perry. I want it to help people cross. I want to own my own way, so that I don't have to sit here arguing with people on Facebook about why Black Lives Matter, because they do. Like, I shouldn't have to explain that. If you can't grasp it, that's on your own problem. But they do, and they matter, and I want them to. And so because of that, here's the work that I'm doing to make sure that they continue to matter, and that Black kids still see Black women and Black mothers and Black fathers like in their circumstance. Like, they can see it within their peripheral. You don't have to look around. Tyler Perry mentioned, like, literally, he's in the poorest neighborhood in Atlanta with his business. What? When people ask me why am I in Baltimore, because it's going to be impactful here.
Yeah.
The work that I do is impactful here. If I take it somewhere else, like in a white predominant neighborhood, will they value it the same way? They don't need to see me to know that I matter. They are going to choose to decide if I matter on their own. They already have their own reservation about if I matter. But for a Black woman, a Black girl that's growing up, I want her to see like this natural hair, this fiery passion, this woman that's here. I want her to see that, because if somebody told her she can't, it's a woman right here is telling her she can.
Listen.
So that's how it looks.
Everything. So since you have a lot going on, how do you keep yourself spiritually and emotionally grounded?
I just pray.
Okay.
Yeah, I just pray. I just call out, like sometimes I just like sit on the floor and I just like scream. That's a thing for me, and that's fine. Like, that's my truth. There are other days where, like, each morning or each night, depending on how busy the day is, I definitely make time to like read my Bible. And I use like the Bible app right now because, like, wow, these things are like, technology is so cool. But like using the Bible app right now has been like dope, because in the morning I like roll over and just like, instead of scrolling Instagram, I like roll over, like start reading the Bible, and I just choose Bible plans on the app. Like, I choose the different plans, and like whatever I'm feeling that day or in that mood, I just continue it. And a lot of times I like look for things that I know I need to improve in. So being grateful, being appreciative, giving myself grace, girl. So all of those things I do. I do the Bible plans around them, because it's like another source of like strength that I can tap into, because if I was doing it on my own, we would have quit a while ago.
For sure.
Like, I the 2-week paycheck, I could definitely have gone back to that. Like, I'm really good on the stability. I would have done that.
I 700% agree.
Okay. But that's the one thing that I miss. But other than that, no.
Okay. Hope you all caught that, because this is a Soulcation podcast. So I'm always trying to make sure you all are building or keeping your emotional health healthy, if that makes sense. So a couple nuggets from Jasmine. How are you waiting in your waiting season? You can unlearn certain behaviors and certain habits. Before you start building a brand, make sure you check in with yourself to see where you are, what you like. Know yourself before you start building a brand. Her acronym KMC, you got to know your audience. You got to meet them where they are, and you got to captivate them. But you can't captivate them if you don't know who they are. Also, when you're thinking about branding, what should people feel when they come to your page? And lastly, connections are your golden ticket, and every person you meet is valuable. So we're going to do some rapid soul questions, Jasmine. So the first thing that comes to your mind, just blurt it out, okay?
You know what's sad is I listen to this podcast all the time, and I still didn't prepare for this part.
Literally.
I still didn't prepare for this part. I just know it's about to get me. All right, I'm going to try.
It's okay. Okay, name one person you think is really funny.
Kevin Hart.
Okay. What's the last song you listened to?
Beyonce. Oh my God. You Had Me at Hello.
Okay.
I think that's it.
Hello. What dessert can't you live without?
Oh, girl, all of them. If I had to choose just one, like, I'm looking at the kitchen table. It might be cotton candy ice cream with rainbow sprinkles at Cold Stone.
What?
Yeah, it's a thing. The blue, gotta have it with the rainbow sprinkles mixed in. Chuckle that joint on down, and they put it in that big old cup. That would probably be it's that or blueberry muffins.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, I love it. Oh, okay, or peach or apple cobbler.
I can't.
See, I told you it's all of them. That's just not right.
What is one product that you must use every day besides your phone?
Google Calendar. Not a day goes by without the calendar.
Now that's a word right there.
Yeah, because I honestly don't know who I would be without Google Calendar.
Amen. Thank you, Google.
Yeah.
If you could go to dinner with anyone, who would it be?
So, like, my heart wants to say Michelle Obama. My mind wants to say Taraji P. Henson. But then my spirit wants to say Beyonce.
Like, Beyonce, y'all. Okay, yeah.
Like that, like, it would, yeah, like, if you could blend them, what is that? Michelle on Taraji. Yeah, Michelle on Taraji.
I cannot. What's one book you think everyone should read besides the Bible?
Gabrielle's Union's We're Gonna Need More Wine.
Why
That book was so good, especially for Black. I think it's really good for individuals that don't know what Black life looks like. But then for Black women, she even talks about just like you being the token Black person in like an all white dominant space. And then starting to envy other Black women or other Black people because they take away your spotlight or they make you feel more Black. Right? So you're already trying to dim your light of being Black in this dominant space of just white folks. And then you have to, like, you now know that you're Black because there's another Black person. And then it's just like you start to be really insecure. And that's who I was when I was in middle school. That was my journey. So her talking about her journey and then where she's at now and like how she's so supportive of Black women now is like she wasn't always that way and neither was I. And so the journey is really in the appreciation is really in the journey, I'll say. So that book for just, you said for everyone. So for like white people, I would definitely read it just to see what Black life looks like, to see the insides of a Black woman's brain. But for Black women, I definitely think we should look at it because you'll resonate so much with that. And you might really appreciate your growth too by reading that book. Because I appreciated mine. Yeah. Like that I'm not the person that I used to be. I'm not catty. I'm not gossipy. You know, I'm not that person that I was in high school or in middle school. And I now, because of her book, really identify with where that actually came from. Just wanting to not be so seen. Yeah. But also wanting to just have my own space and still feel like myself. And now I'm totally into who I am. But back then it was, you know, a little different. Yeah. A little different.
I agree. So what are you looking to do next and how can we support you?
Oh, y'all so sweet. Y'all are just so sweet. Essentially, I am looking to probably do my first conference. So that is something that I'm excited about, is like possibly doing my first conference. How you guys can support me in doing the conference is if you'd like to be a vendor or a sponsor, or if you know, like you would like to participate in any type of way, definitely reach out to me. You can always find me. I'm at Strategist Jazz on Instagram, and the business is at MIOCOA on every platform. So Strategist Jazz everywhere and at Miyoko everywhere. So you guys can always keep up with us there. Just tell someone else about us. That's always awesome. But in truth, what I really, really, really need from just, you know, your audience is to be kind to one another and to treat one another with love and with respect and to become the best version of you, so that other people can attach to that person and you can just keep building and building and building a community of us just being supportive and loving of one another, which is something I just don't think we do enough of. So really being intentional about connecting with someone and being kind to them.
That's good, Jasmine. That's good. I hope you all caught all these nuggets. Make sure you all subscribe to the Soulcation podcast. Also, leave a comment. Let us know what you thought about this episode. We would love to hear your feedback. I appreciate you so much, Jasmine, for coming on the Soulcation podcast. I really do.
So awesome. Thank you so much.
I will catch you all on the next episode, and I'll talk to you all very soon. Bye.
Bye.